we see Dave sitting by a campfire as Haley throws a few logs in and sits down across from him as Dave says, nights are getting colder. It's gonna be one hell of a winter this year, Haley. Haley looks very put off by him and says, so we're not gonna talk about what you just did or what? Dave says, we can talk about it. What's up? Haley says, that you shot a man in cold blood in front of everyone? Dave says, a man who killed your husband too, don't forget. Haley says, yeah, but did Amelia deserve what she got? Dave says, well, I have to admit that was not part of the plan. Although take it up with Matthew. He's his own man. He did it. Shit, it's not on me. I can't control everything he does. Look, Haley, judge me if you please. But just know one thing, all right? A few years back, before Billy was born, your husband talked to me, and we made a pact that if one of us was to go down, the other one would get revenge for the other person. Your husband would be me right now if I was the one on that tree. I never thought it meant anything, but when Mr. West died, I knew. I had a promise to fulfill. Hell, if you think I'm psycho for that, I can't help you with that. But if people want me dead over that, I'll handle it. People tell stories because they're afraid of me. The truth is, though, if you want to survive out here, you gotta kill threats. Haley says, what happened to you out there? Dave says, I lost my wife, Haley. I lost my daughter. Thought I did, at least. Haley says, who's scared of you now, you know. Dave says, I'll fix that. She's Miller blood, she'll come through. Look, Mrs. West, how about this? I'll take care of my kid, you take care of yours. Deal? Haley just nods. When I was out there, my mind was to a point where I lived with the decision between life and a gun to my head. And I almost pulled that trigger, Haley. I was so goddamn close to doing that. And when I couldn't do it, I told Roger the truth about what I did. Haley says, what did you do? Dave says, I told him the truth. That I killed his brother, and that me and Catherine hid that from the community and took over Kingstonville in my father's honor. And Roger, he wanted to kill me, but he didn't. And when he didn't, I knew what I had to do. And I knew at the beginning of this whole thing, seek revenge. And unlike what happened to your husband, I got mine and your revenge. You know, my dad always told me a quote. It goes, trust is hard to build and easy to break. So let me ask you something, Haley. Is it broke? You can view what I did as an act of malice, or you can realize what it actually was, an act of revenge. I didn't do it to scare people, and I sure as hell didn't do it to be that man I once was. Lincoln wanted me to look after you, and Billy, and for the respect that I earned for your husband over all these years, and the life that we're living now. I mean, shit, look around. Being out here in the cold. All because of him. Remember something, Haley. You're like my sister. And brothers protect their sisters, no matter what. So just know that when I do what I do, going forward and in the past, I only have your best interest in mind. And if there was a man with a gun towards you or little Billy, I would take the bullet for either one of you, just like I would for my Rose. But in order to live in this world, you gotta do the unspeakable every once in a while. And I do think that I did what your husband would have wanted me to do. We see dead apostles on the beach. As we see some of them getting up, as we see they're reanimating. Audrin sees this and starts killing them with his chainsaw as he then sees James's dead corpse. As he walks up to him and says, "Well, that right there is for firing me there, motherfucker." As he starts walking away and says, "Time to go catch me some prey." We see Dave walking through the woods, as we see everybody sleeping in the woods in some of their cars for the night. He then opens the trunk onto one of the cars, as we then see there's nothing left for food. We see Tegan is watching him with a look of anger, as she has her hand on her gun. Dave laughs and says, "I can see your shadow from here, sweetheart. If you have something to say to me, say it." Tegan says, "You killed my leader. You think you could just walk in here and kill him in cold blood?" Dave says, "Well, he did kill my friend in a very inhumane manner there, darling, so I would reckon he deserved what he got." Tegan says, "So what about the rest of us who followed him? You gonna kill us too?" Dave says, "Only if they get in my way. If not, you'll be fine." Tegan says, "I'm the only one here now. Larson and the others, they all left after you did what you did. Frankly, I don't blame them. But frankly, I don't know if they'll make it. Because of you." Dave says, "Listen, the way I see it, we can do this now, and you kill me right in the dead of night. Then my people gun you down and you die. Or you can put the gun down and kindly accept things for what they are." Tegan knows that she's outnumbered here and lowers her gun. And Dave says, "Oh, and I'll be taking that piece off of you now." As he asks her for her gun, as Tegan looks angry towards him and hands it over and walks away from him. We see Dave walks up to Miles and Ashley as Miles says, "It's great to have you back, man." Dave says, "Thanks. I didn't think any of you survived. Hey, is Tom here? I'd love to get some liquor out of him right about now." Miles says, "I'm sorry, brother. He didn't make it." Dave says, "Damn, that's horrible." Ashley says, "Hey, for what it's worth, I get what you did, and I do appreciate it." Dave says, "It's good to see you both." We see it's bothering him as he walks down to the river. We see Dave sitting on a log, as we can see his hands are shaking, as we see tears going down his face, as he looks sad about Tom. We hear, "Daddy?" We see Dave wipes his tears, as we see he's hiding his emotions, as he says, "Hey, Pumpkin, are you okay?" Rose says, "I'm fine, just hungry." Dave says, "I know you are, baby girl. We'll try to find you something soon." Rose says, "Dad? Why did you kill that man?" Dave says, "Well, sweetheart, I think you're not really at an age where I should be talking to you about this kind of stuff, but in this world, I think you are at the age. I killed him because he was the man who killed your Uncle Lincoln. He's the reason why we don't have a home anymore. Every time you think about eating, just remember why we're in this mess." Rose actually looks like she understands and says, "Then what you did was necessary, Daddy. I really miss Tom." Dave tries to stay strong and says, "Yeah, I know. Look, I don't know where we go from here, but I promise you this. We'll find a place to call home soon enough." Rose says, "I feel safe with you around, Daddy." She hugs him as they both sit together by the river. As we see, across the river, Audrin watching them from far, as he sits there spying on our group. The next day, we see Haley, Miles, and Sydney out on a hunt, as Miles sees Frost on some trees and says, "Wait." They hear a deer from far, as we see them trying to approach it. As we see, the deer turns around. We see it's a reanimated deer. Miles says, "Holy shit!" Sydney says, "Get back!" It runs towards them as Haley shoots it and it goes down. Miles says, "Fuck. You ever seen one of these before?" Sydney says, "No, I haven't. And also, since when did animals reanimate?" Haley looks concerned as she looks at the deer and says, "Well, wait a minute. I don't see any bites here. Do you?" Miles says, "Oh, fucking weird." They all look concerned, and Sydney says, "Guys, come take a look at this." We see a mansion on a hill as Haley says, "Well, that's a roof over our heads for a little bit." They knock on the door as they wait a minute. Haley says, "Okay, let's move." They enter as they slowly walk in, and Sydney says, "Watch the floors. Could be traps." They all search through the house as we see a carpet with knives underneath, revealing there's traps set in this house. As we see, Sydney walks up to Haley and Miles and says, "It's clear. Whoever had this place before had a very elaborate setup." Miles says, "Well, it's a good place to hold up for a while." Later that day, we see the sun going down as we see the whole group has moved in. As Miles is walking around, as he overhears one of the kids saying, "I'm really hungry now," Miles sees how bad off they are and walks up to Ashley and says, "Hey, you mind telling Haley I'm going out on a run? I can't stand watching these children starve any longer." Ashley says, "Miles, we've scavenged everything from a 10-mile radius." Miles says, "I'm gonna try. I have to." Ashley says, "Okay, I understand. I'm coming with you though." Miles says, "Okay, get your things. Let's go." We see Ashley and Miles walking on a trail in the woods. As they're walking, Miles says, "Thanks for joining me. I can't lie, I also wanted to just get the hell out of there for a bit. Ever since Dave's come back with this new guy, tensions are high with everyone. Everybody's at everybody's throats." Ashley says, "Are you saying we made a mistake?" Miles says, No, not at all. I wanted to kill him too. However, it's putting everybody at odds. I just hope it doesn't bring us down." We see Dave goes up to Matthew and says, "Hey, you good, man?" Matthew says, Yeah, man. You people just aren't too talkative enough. Although, I get it." Dave says, "Yeah, it's hard times, bro. By the way, thanks for helping me out at the nest. When you told me you heard those explosions going down, and I saw that smoke up in the sky, I knew there was something going down there at the nest. And because of that, I reconnected with my daughter and my people. So thank you, man." Matthew says, "Hey, it ain't nothing, man. Hey, and let me tell you something. I'm glad we were able to reconnect with your daughter. I really am." As we see him walk away. Back with Ashley and Miles, we see them walking as they stop to see a sign that says, "Ziltramite, your road to survival's destination." Miles looks at her and she says, "Nope, no way." Miles says, "Well, look, it's the only glimmer of hope that we've seen out here, all right? Maybe that has to be some kind of consideration, especially in times like this." Ashley says, "Yeah, and that's exactly why it's suspicious. You really think that this many years into this shit, that people are just gonna make signs that you can walk right in there and live, and it's exactly what they say it is, and they're not being greedy or selfish trying to take your shit? I just find it a little bit hard to believe that they would broadcast this all over the country so that we could just walk in there and have a perfectly normal life. There's a cost to everything, Miles. And in this world, there's a cost to everything we have." We hear a voice saying, "Indeed there is," as Ashley gets knocked out. Back at the mansion, we see a deadhead walking towards the gate of the mansion. As it hears something and starts running towards the gate, as it gets shot and killed, as we see Sydney on the top floor at the window with a sniper rifle, as she shoots it and says, "Huh. Oh man, Keezy, I wish you were here." She reloads it, and Rose walks up to her and says, "Was it just one?" Sydney says, oh yeah, although I'm sure more will hear it. There's been a lot more of those things recently. Rose says, where did Ashley and Miles go? Sydney says, they went looking for food. Hopefully they'll be back with something soon. Rose says, how much do we have left? Sydney says, hey, I don't need you to worry about that. You're way too young for that. Look, we'll figure something out, okay? I'm not gonna let you starve. Nobody is gonna let you guys starve. And plus, I'm sure Ashley and Miles will come back with something any minute now. Back with Ashley and Miles. Ashley wakes up, tied to Miles, as she says, how long was I out? Miles says, only like a half an hour. We see they're in an old car dealership as a door opens. As we see, it's Audrin. He walks up to them and says, rise and shine, both of you. Sorry about the hit to the head. Although I know, 2-on-1 wouldn't have gone well. And hell, you're the one who trained me, so knocking you out felt like a very easy solution. Ashley asks, what do you want from us? Let me guess, revenge for the nest, right? Audrin says, no, quite the opposite actually. You see, I no longer rock with the apostles anymore. Even before the place fell, James threw me out because I wasn't killing enough of you guys. And I do want you both to know that none of that was personal, alright? I was hired by James. I took a job that I couldn't do. And now, well, I'm just looking for supplies, just like everybody else. And there ain't a damn thing out here to hunt that hasn't already been shoved up its own ass, so I'm gonna take you two to wherever it is that you call home these days. You two will be my leverage. Give me some food, get me by for a week's worth. Then, I'll be on my way. Nobody gets hurt. Ashley says, why a week's worth? Why not just take it all? Audrin says, well, because like I said, darling, this isn't personal. Once I get it, I'm going home. Away from this fucked up area, in particular. Ashley says, you talking about the place that you told me and Bishop about when you joined us last year? Audrin says, yep, going back there where I belong. Miles says, well, safe travels there, you fucking dipshit. But we're not giving you any food, because we barely have anything, but a few cans left, barely any water left as it is. Audrin says, are you sure? Ashley says, he's not lying. We've barely got anything. Audrin says, well, let's see what your leader has to say. Haley is sitting on the steps in the mansion as her walkie goes off, as we hear, Haley West, come in. I repeat, Haley West, come in. Haley picks up her walkie, and Dave walks up behind her and says, who the fuck is that? Haley says, who's this? How do you know my name anyway? Audrin says, well, hello there. Alright, listen there, sweet cheeks. I have a proposal for you, if you're willing to hear it, of course. Haley says, wait, who the fuck are you? Audrin says, damn, I'm forgettable to you? Here, let me give you a little bit of a reminder. He starts up his chainsaw and lets it run for a second. He then turns it off, and Ashley and Miles look on edge, and Audrin says, remember me? I was the one you tried to kill when I was coming after you in that horrible weather? Man, what a rush that night was. Haley looks pissed and looks at Dave and says, what do you want? Audrin says, well, it's as simple and as small as James' testicles once were. Small and not much to them. I was hired by James to kill every last one of you. Let's just say the deal ended not so peacefully. So last night I discovered what was left of the place, which I'm assuming was your doing. James is finally in the ground, so A+ there, which I gotta give you a round of applause for first and foremost. Haley, it is rather hard out here to find food, just lying around. And I'm getting the word right now y'all are starving pretty badly right now at that mansion of yours. Haley says, you've been following us? Audrin says, oh, very much so. You know, I would have joined your little weenie roast last night, but y'all seem to be having some problems of your own. Pretty intense conversations I overheard with one another. Didn't really want to spoil the mood. Dave grabs the walkie and says, hang on here a damn minute. You been spying on us? How do you know our food situation? Audrin tells Ashley and Miles, speak. Ashley says, Haley, we're fine. We're held up at it. Audrin says, that's enough. Dave says, oh, for fuck's sakes. All right, I'm gonna take Matthew with me. I'm gonna kill that fucker. Haley says, no, hang on. She takes the walkie back and says, what are you proposing? Audrin says, well, I was originally going to hold your people for leverage so I could get a week's worth of supplies and take on my trip back home, and then I'd be on my way, and nobody would get hurt. However, with the recent information that Ashley's told me about your food situation, I'm pretty sure you all have kids in there, correct? Haley looks hesitant and says, yes. Yes, we do. Dave says, oh, don't tell him that. Haley says, hang on, I got this, all right? We do. We have starving children here, okay? Most of them don't have families as it is. We have no supplies. We have no food to give you, okay? Audrey says, well, I see two options here. Either I start by killing these two fine folks right here, and then I proceed to just leave the area completely before you find me, or option 2. I will put everything that we've gone through over, leave it in the past, and leave it behind us. I will give your people back to you, and in exchange, you will come with me to where I come from. And you could live a better life with food, shelter, electricity, all those things that you'll need to survive. It's your choice. Haley looks back at the starving kids and looks back at Dave, and Dave says, well, what the hell else are we gonna do? Haley knows it's their best shot and says, okay, fine, we'll come with you. Now let my people go. Audrey cuts them loose, and Haley asks, so whereabouts are we going exactly? Audrey says, I'll talk to you about it when I get to the mansion. It's far, but with enough strength, I'm sure we could get there. And in about a week's time, we'll be at the ranch. Blackberry Ranch. We see Ashley, Miles, and Audrey on their way back to the mansion. As they're walking, and Audrey gives them their weapons back, and Ashley says, so you saw the nest? Audrey says, oh yeah, and then some. I assume James was your doing? Ashley says, partly. I put him down, but Bishop did the rest. Audrey says, and he's dead too. I saw his corpse on my way out. Who did that now? Ashley says, one of our people. Dave. He shot him, made it quick. Audrey says, respectful. I look forward to meeting this Dave guy. I never thought anybody had the balls to kill Bishop. Miles says, we're almost there. Ashley says, okay. My head is killing me now, thanks. Audrey says, I'm sure there's aspirin for that somewhere. I think. We see they all walk up to the mansion as Haley and the group come out, and Ashley and Miles walk up to Haley, and Dave says, you guys okay? Miles says, yeah, we're fine. Audrey is standing there as Haley says, so where is this place exactly? Audrey says, it's in Montana. It's called Blackberry Ranch. Dave says, that might be the stupidest name I've ever heard in my life. Haley says, all right, that's a long trip. That's a big commitment here. How do we know this isn't a trap? Ashley says, yeah, like those signs on the road. Audrey says, because they don't broadcast things all over the place. I was already heading there myself, with or without you guys. That's how I can promise you that it's not a trap. It's a real place with real people. Dave then whispers to Haley, we stay any longer, we won't make it. We gotta think about our kids now. Remember, trust is hard to build, easy to break. If it breaks, we'll kill them. Haley nods and says, all right, we're in. We all take the night, rest up. We leave in the morning. Audrey says, great. He walks up to Dave and says, hey, are you Dave? Dave says, I am. Audrey says, in that case, great to meet you, man. He shakes his hand and says, I think you and I will get along great. As the group heads inside for the rest of the night. The next day, we see Dave starting up the truck as Haley walks up to him and sees only half a tank is left, and Dave says, hopefully it'll at least get us out of the area. We'll have to manage from there. Haley says, there's a bit of fuel in the back. It's a little extra, but it's not much. Dave says, good to know. Haley says, all right, let's go. Audrey says, I'm calling shotgun next to Davey boy here. As we see them leaving the mansion behind and hitting the road. As we see time going by of them driving, as they make a pit stop, and Haley says, all right, I'm gonna go fill up on some water. I'll be right back. She starts walking down the river a while as everyone else gets out and stretches their legs. As Dave walks up to Sydney and says, so what do you think about all this? Sydney says, I want to believe it's real, although I'm not betting on it anymore. I just can't. Dave says, nah, me neither. Although, just between you and me, if he is lying, I'll kill that fucker in his sleep. We see Haley filling up on water bottles by the lake. As Audryn walks up to her and says, "Need some help?" Haley says, "Go ahead." He sits there with her and says, "You know, this is big." Haley says, "How's that?" Audryn turns his back on her and says, "Well, you know, I didn't say this in front of the others because I didn't really want to worry anybody, but I haven't been home in over a year. I mean, anything could happen in a year. They could be dead for all I know. I mean, hell, maybe the place isn't even there anymore. So I guess I'm just hoping that..." We hear a gun click as Haley points a gun towards him and says, "All right, stop the bullshit. I have people and I have kids who are relying on me. So if you're walking us into a trap, you better tell me now. Tell me everything I need to know about Blackberry Ranch."